and welcome to Automate with AI, Prompt Builder, Flow, and Slack, and welcome to TDX. Very exciting. I know you all have your headphones on. It's quiet over here. Anywho, just a reminder, Salesforce is a publicly traded company. Please base all your purchasing decisions off of what is currently available. That's me. My name is Katie Villanueva. I am a software engineer, and I got my LinkedIn QR code if you want to connect on LinkedIn. Love to talk to you. I do want to go ahead and say thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time out of your TDX to be at this session. It means a lot to me, and it's my hope that when you walk out of here, you feel that this was time well spent. So let's review the agenda. First, we'll talk about the business problem that led to the solution. Then we'll break down the flow that is the solution, which we'll discuss how to post to Slack, how to embed Prompt Builder. We'll demo how we did things in a pre-AI world versus how we do things in a post-AI world, which will lead us into our Prompt Builder section, which will break down the setup of Prompt Builder. We'll discuss good prompt techniques, best practices, and then we'll talk about the template that I used in the flow. And then after that, we will discuss what I dubbed the manual process, using Prompt Builder outside of the solution, outside of flow. And if we have time, we'll do some Q&A. So the business problem. I was an admin at a Salesforce consultancy, and we were hiring consultants fast, and we were onboarding them fast. But fast isn't always efficient. In fact, we were going too fast, and the handoff wasn't that clean. I found that we had siloed communications, in that some team members were made aware that a consultant was onboarded and ready to be put on a project, and other team members didn't know. And this is because we were communicating through different channels. We were using Slack, we were using Chatter, we were using email. This led to tedious searching in Salesforce. Our users couldn't recall the contact's information, key information to pull up their record in Salesforce. And they couldn't source where that information was from, because they didn't know what channel it came through. Not only that, we were also providing inconsistent messaging. We're either sharing too much information or too little information about the skills and talents our consultants were able to bring to the table. So I thought about it. I said, how can Salesforce help me? What tools can I use to solve these issues? And when I thought of summarizing a record and fixing that inconsistent messaging, I thought of AI, which led me to Prompt Builder. And then I said, I want to do this in real time, and I don't want to lift a finger every time we have a new hire. So that led me to Flow. And then I said, I need to control the channel of communications. I need all the appropriate people to get access to the information, and I want the content to be searchable. So naturally, that led me to Slack. So when you put it all together, you have a record trigger flow that carries record information to Prompt Builder. Prompt Builder summarizes it, spits it back out to Flow, Flow sends it to Slack, and then Slack posts it, and then everybody knows that we have a new consultant, that they're onboarded, and they're ready to be put on a project. So let's look at that flow. Now here's a snapshot of the flow. And I do want to point out, this is only 5 elements long. And for anybody that might be new out there to Salesforce or building your flows or problem solving, I really want to stress and point out that complex business problems don't always require complex solutions. Anybody can do this. You can do this, and I'll prove that to you. We will go over the start conditions. We will review each of the elements. We'll show you how to post to Slack. I'll show you how to embed Prompt Builder, and we'll demo each of these branches. All right, let's jump into our flow. So here I am in setup, and I'm going to search for flows. And under process automation, I'm going to click on flows, and I'm going to look for my flow. Now my flow is contact underscore and then camel case, the name of the flow. And in this case, my flow is called contact underscore new expert Slack post. See, I follow a naming convention where I put the object first. This keeps me organized. This keeps my flows organized, and I know what object my flow is running on. So you may also hear me from time to time say expert or consultant and expert. It means the same thing at my consultancy, so I'm sorry if I do that. But anyways, the business process kicks off when a new consultant is onboarded and ready to be put on a project, and our human resources team creates a contact record for that consultant. And that's where our flow begins. We're going to put the object as the contact object. We're going to trigger the flow when a record is created, and we're going to set our entry conditions to make sure that our record type equals consultant, because we don't want our customers to be going through this process. And since we're posting to Slack, we're going to choose actions and related records. Now, fun fact about record trigger flows. Record trigger flows can't make external callouts on the run immediately path. You actually have to use a scheduled path in order to post to Slack. But being that we want to do this in real time, we're going to set our offset number to 0 minutes after the record's been created. So it'll run immediately. Now, the first element that the flow runs up against is a decision element. And in that decision element, we have 3 outcomes. We have a full post outcome, a short post outcome, and a do nothing outcome. Now, for the full post outcome, I just want to say the decision element looks at this custom field called expert bio. See, during the recruiting process, the recruiter may or may not get additional background information and document it on our consultant. So that's what this decision element evaluates. Is expert bio field null? So if is expert bio field null false, meaning there is information in the expert bio field, we'll run the record down the full post branch and through AI. Now, the opposite is true for the short post branch. So we're going to evaluate, is the expert bio field null? True, meaning it is null. There is nothing in that field. We'll run our record through the short post branch. And if our record doesn't meet any of this criteria, we're not going to do anything. So let's take a look at the short post branch because it only has one element, and it's an action element, and it is a send Slack message action, which I named short post to Slack. Now, if anybody hasn't sent anything to Slack or sent a post to Slack, this is set up very straightforward. So for your Slack app, you need to declare Salesforce for Slack. And then from there, you declare your workspace, which I have Cloud Companion Advisors, which is my fictitious company that I created for this demo. And then you execute the action as, and I put Slack app because I'm going to post under Slack. I'm not posting under a username or anything like that. And then we have to apply a conversation ID. Now, before I actually created the flow, I created a channel in my Cloud Companion Advisors workspace that I called Personnel Announcements. Here, I've got the Human Resources team invited so they can monitor all the new announcements about the new hires. I have the dev team here so they can see and welcome their new teammate. And I also have the customer success team invited so that they can see all about the new skills and talents our consultants can bring to the customers. So just like any ID in Salesforce, you can get your conversation ID or your channel ID in the browser view of Slack, and you can copy that, and then you can paste it in the Slack conversation ID field. Now for our Slack message, I created a text template resource. And just like as if you were posting to Chatter, when you post to Slack, you want to set your resource to view as plain text. Because if you use rich text, you'll see visible page breaks and paragraphs. So I wrote my text template resource to read the following expert has been onboarded and available for work. I want to see this consultant's name. I want to see their location. I want to know their role, their cloud experience, their industry experience, and their certifications. See, I know that these are all required fields when you create a contact record, so I'll have this data to put onto my template. Now, if you notice, I have a $ record. That is a resource. So if you go to insert a resource and scroll down to global variables, you'll see $ record. And if you click on that, that is the triggering record. And if you click on it, you get access to all the fields that live on that record. So that's why I have $record.firstname, $record.lastname, $record.location, and so on and so forth. These are merge fields. It's taking the data from my field and it's merging it onto my template. So let's take a look and see how this short post branch runs in real time. So I'm going to jump into production, and I'm going to go to contacts, and I'm going to create a new contact, and it's going to be a consultant record type. And my new consultant is going to be Mr. Cody Bear. And he works for Cloud Companion Advisors, and he is a developer. Surprise! We're going to give him a phone number, we're going to give him an email, and then he also reports to Astro. And he is located in Chicago, Illinois. Now for his cloud and features knowledge, he knows Sales Cloud, and he knows Service Cloud. And his certifications include Platform App Builder, Platform Developer 1, and Platform Developer 2. For his industry experience, he's been in technology for quite a while. Now, the recruiter didn't provide human resources any background information, so we're going to leave the expert bio field and we're going to save. That's triggering our flow. New record is created. It's a consultant record type. Is expert bio field null? True. So we're going to run down the short post branch and we're going to post my text template resource to Slack. And it reads exactly, the following expert has been onboarded and available for work. Exactly how I wrote out my template. I've got Cody's name, I've got his location, his role, his cloud experience, his industry experience, and his certifications. Everything I need right there in one Slack post. Now, if you were to ask me, this is really boring. Gets the job done, but it's not welcoming, it's not exciting. And if you think about it, I could write the template to be more welcoming and more exciting, but it's going to be repetitive. Every time we have a new hire, it's going to read exactly the same way. And that's how we did things in a pre-AI world. But we live in a post-AI world. So let's see how we can embed that in our flow. So that brings me to the next section, Prompt Builder. We'll review our setup, we'll discuss best practices when prompt writing, and we'll break down the template I use in the flow, and then we'll demo it. So let's jump right in. Now, before I even created my flow, the first step was to create a prompt template. So here I am in setup, and I'm going to search prompt. And under Einstein Generative AI, I'm going to click on Prompt Builder, and I'm going to click on New Prompt Template. And I'm going to leave the prompt template type as field generation. I'm going to name the template Assist Generated Bio. And then I'm going to give it a description. Now, there's 3 things you need to know about the description. 1, it's always good to document what you're doing, so don't skip it. 2, what you put here will show up in your flow. So be sure to write a good description so that down the road, you know exactly what the template does in your flow. And 3, you need to consider AI. Why? Well, as we call on AI, it combs through our metadata. It looks at our objects, it looks at our templates, and yes, it even looks at our descriptions. It's just one way to ground the template. Now, grounding is a term you've probably heard here and around TDX, but if not, AI, aka the LLM, the large language model, searches for context to provide personalized responses based on your information. The description tab or description field is one of those contextual resources, guiding the LLM to your information to give you a response that you're looking for. That's why we ground it. So our description will read, just got to catch up, field generation prompt template summarizing a consultant's contact record, specifically its required field and the expert bio field. Now we're going to ground it further by assigning it an object, which will be the contact object. And then we will assign an object field. This is not grounding. We are literally assigning a field. It'll be a custom text field that we called the assisted generated biography field. Now this field piece is something we will review later in the session, so just keep in mind we did this piece. So I'm going to save this. Actually, I'll exit out because I have it saved already. I'm going to open it up, and this is Prompt Builder. And when you look at it, you've got 3 sections. You've got your top section, which is your canvas, which is your creative space where you write your prompt. And then you have your resource, where you choose your record, and you get to pick your merge field data, grounding it, giving it context. And then if you scroll to the bottom of the list, you have access to related lists. For more complex prompts, you can actually choose flows and apex. Now, the second section of Prompt Builder, you have your preview section, you have your resolution, and your response areas. For the preview section, you get to choose a record under related record to test your prompt against. And as you do that, the resolution, which is the area that'll show you how your resources and your prompts are resolved on the template, will actually update the response, which is the generative AI text using the resolution. So as you click preview, your resolution and your responses will update, and you can make whatever adjustments you need to make in your canvas area. Now, the third section of Prompt Builder is your template properties. You have your model type and your models. For the model type, you can choose either you bring your own model type, or you can use a Salesforce provided standard model type. For your models, you have a plethora to choose from. I chose the OpenAI GPT 3.5 Turbo because I was getting the response that I wanted. You don't always have to use newer, faster model because you're going to get a different response on each model. So I was getting what I wanted, so I kept with that model. All right, prompt building best practices. What goes into a good prompt? How you write your prompt will directly affect the quality of your response. So when you write a prompt, you want to make sure you're concise. You want to be specific. You want to avoid yes or no questions. And you want to consider tone and style. Now, for my prompt, I followed the TCF prompt framework. First, I gave it a task. I said, go do something. And in this case, I said, summarize this record. Then I gave it context. I said, go do something with this information, to which I said, summarize this record with this merge field data. And then I gave it a format. I said, go do something with this information, and I want to see it this way. So let's break down that format. Here we are. The first sentence I say is make an exciting announcement about a new addition to the team. That's my task. It's consistent, it's concise, it's specific, it considers tone and style, and it avoids a yes or no question. Then I said, be sure to start with, quote, the following expert has been onboarded and is available for work, end quote. Now notice those quotations. Anytime you use words or phrases within quotations, that means they will be directly stamped into your response. So my formatting here actually says that the following expert has been onboarded and available for work, should read as my first sentence. Then I gave it context. I said, tell me the context name. I want to know their location. I want to know their role. I want to know their cloud and feature knowledge. I want their industries. And then list their certifications with that certification field. So there's all my required fields that I referenced before, but I have that expert bio field. And in my template, I said include a final line called, quote, about the contact name, and I want to summarize that expert bio field, and I want to do it in exactly 2 sentences, citing years of experience and project experience. And then I format it, I say, end the announcement with, quote, this is AI-generated content. Now this brings me to my next point. Humans and loops. AI does and doesn't need humans. It needs us to write the prompt. It needs us to push the button to generate a response, but it doesn't necessarily need us in the response. So when you have a situation like this, where you're posting a response without review, that's what you call having a human out of the loop. But it's scary though, if you think about it, because words matter. What AI communicates matters, and if your prompt isn't specific enough, or if your data isn't clean enough, you're going to get a vague response, or even worse, one with misinformation. That's why it's always a best practice when you have a human out of the loop to tag it, this is AI-generated content. Now, if you have the opportunity to review the response and vet it and massage it and tailor it into what you want, that's what you call having a human in the loop. And you don't have to tag it, this is AI-generated content, but it is a best practice and even recommended by Salesforce that all customer-facing responses keep the human in the loop. But let's jump back into the flow and see how this template is used. So we're going down the full post branch, and the first thing is an action element. And what I did is I pulled up actions and I searched the name of my template. And I was able to get this action element that I named Assist Generated Bio Prompt. Now I know it is tied to my template because if you look, the help text actually reads field generation prompt template summarizing a consultant's contact record, specifically its required fields and the expert bio field. That is a description I put in my template. So good documenting skills, I'm telling you folks. But from there, I wanted to go ahead and assign a related entity. I said, use the triggering contact record for that merge field data. I want to put that data into my template. But before I finished with this element, I actually also created an empty text variable that I named prompt builder output. And what that text variable is going to do is it's going to catch the response, and it's going to hold on to that response. And that no longer empty variable is going to carry over into our next element, which is an update records element. And I'm telling the flow to update my field assisted generated biography with my response from prompt builder, with my text variable. But we still have to post to Slack. So I have another action element. It again is a send Slack message action that this time I'm named full post to Slack. And it's set up exactly the same way as the short post to Slack element. We have our Slack app as Salesforce for Slack. Our workspace is Cloud Companion Advisors. We're going to post under the Slack app. And then we know where our conversation ID came from. But for the Slack message, instead of a text template resource, I'm going to apply my text variable holding that prompt builder response. I'm applying my prompt builder output in that spot. So let's demo it. See what it looks like. So I'm on the contact object again, and we're going to create a new contact. And it's a consultant record type. And our new consultant's name is going to be Miss Cloudy Goat. And she works for Cloud Companion Advisors. And guess what she is? She's an admin. We're going to give her a phone number. We're going to give her an email, and she also reports to Astro, and she's located in New York, New York. Now for her clouds and features knowledge, she knows Sales Cloud, and she knows Service Cloud, and she knows Health Cloud. For her certifications, she's got Administrator, she's got Advanced Administrator, and she has Platform App Builder. For her industry experience, she's in technology now, but she has a background in healthcare. Now, the recruiter did provide our HR team some additional background information, and we're going to apply it to the expert bio field. And as you can see, they had a very healthy conversation that's well documented, so we're going to save that. That triggers our flow. It's a consultant record type. Is expert bio field null? False. We're running down the full post branch. We're going through prompt builder, and then we're going to post to Slack. Now the response should read just like we prompted the template. My first sentence should be, the following expert has been onboarded and available for work. I've got Cloudy's name, I've got her location, I have her role, as well as her cloud and feature knowledge. You can see the listing of her industries with technology and healthcare, and there's also all of her certification information. I have a second section called About Cloudy the Goat. And Cloudy has been a project manager with 15 years of experience. So there's my years of experience. And this is actually 2 sentences long, and it's tagged, this is AI-generated content. Perfect. This is exactly what we wanted the template to do. But we still had an update records element. So let's check that record and make sure that we updated it. And there you have it. Under the assisted generated biography field, you can see that my prompt builder output response has been posted to that field with that update records element. And now anybody can review at a high level Cloudy's background experience, or they can dig in and read that bio. All right, let's jump into our last section, the manual process. Now, what if we didn't have that information, the expert bio field, in the beginning of the process? So here I am on Albert Einstein's record, and his record was created without a bio. But for various reasons, we have it now. We want to document it, put it in Salesforce, and apply it to his record. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And as you can see, again, another lengthy, healthy conversation, and we're going to save it. But that doesn't trigger our flow because this is an edit action. It's not a create action. But we still need that high-level overview summarizing that expert bio field. But if you notice, there's a pencil with a star right there. Let's take a closer look at that in Lightning App Builder. So we're going to go to Setup. We're going to go to Edit Page. It's going to load. And then we're going to scroll down to that field. Now, if you notice, this field actually has a little orange Einstein head, and it's got that pencil with the star. Well, if you click on it, that shows that this field is actually tied to Einstein Generative AI. Remember when we built our template, we kept it a field generation template type. We called it Assist Generated Bio. We gave it a description. We assigned the contact object. And that last piece, I said, don't forget, we assigned the field Assist Generated Biography. So if you click on it, you can see that that template is actually tied to that field, just like we set up in our template. But if we were to free up that template and try to assign it maybe to another text field, like the expert bio field, if you click under Select a Template, nothing comes up. And if you search for it, nothing will come up. Now that probably means that you don't have a template tied to that field, or if you do, it's not activated. But if you go to a field that has a template assigned to it, and you go under to select a template, all your options will become available for you. So we're going to select it, we're going to apply it to our field, and then we're going to save. So let's take a look and demo this, how to use Prompt Builder outside of a flow. So we're going to scroll down, and with edit permissions, you got to have your edit permissions. You're going to click on the pencil, click on the sparkles, and the Einstein Generative AI overlay populates. It looks at that assigned template, it reads the template prompt, and then it's going to spit out exactly what we expect it to provide in its response. And it actually really does. It's the same template, the same prompt, and it should read exactly like Cloudy. And the first sentence reads, the following expert has been onboarded and available for work. I've got Albert's name. I have his location, San Francisco. I have that he's a project manager. There's a listing of all his cloud and feature knowledge. I have that he's in finance and government and hospitality. And then there's a listing of all his certifications. We have that second section, the About Albert section. And it cites 15 years of experience. There's 2 sentences for me to read, and then it's tagged, this is AI-generated content. This is perfect. This is what we want. But there's a human in the loop, so let's just document, let's remove it, and I'm going to prompt my my template here, I'm going to say, please remove, or I'm not going to say please, but please remove, quote, this is AI generated content. And remember, that is my task. That is specific. That is concise. It's not a yes or no question. And so we're going to apply that. It's going to analyze my request. And I have my response minus the tag showing there's a human in the loop. I'm going to click use, and then I'll pop into my field, and I'm going to click save. And there you have it. Now we have a high-level overview going over the expert bio field, so we can read, in depth if we want, or just kind of get the highlights version. So how I solved it. With Prompt Builder, I was able to summarize bulky information, provide consistent but different messaging that elicited excitement and interest, and it was in a conversational tone, and it saved somebody time on a write-up. With Flow, I was able to automate my communications, and they were made in real time, and I didn't have to do this every time we had a new hire in the door. And then with Slack, we broke down those communication silos. I was able to resolve all the tedious searching in Salesforce because our users could source where that information was coming from, and they could search Slack for it if they wanted to. So here's a resource slide. If you have any interest, I will actually just be going over briefly all the resources that goes into building a solution like this. So just like any good Trailblazer, the first place to start is on Trailhead. And if you're a points person, I would suggest jumping into a couple of these badges. The Record Triggered Flows badge is 1,200 points, built for intermediate Trailblazers. But this is where you learn the basics of record trigger flows and building a trigger flow and going over scheduled paths, all things that were obviously a part of the solution. And this also discusses Flow Trigger Explorer, which is very important and not anything that I actually discussed, but I very much think you should look into that. From there, I suggest jumping over to the Flow Builder Logic. From there, that's a 1,700 point badge for intermediate Trailblazers. And this is where you learn how to use logic and formulas to control the path of the flow. It goes over the decision element, which was pretty key in our flow. And then you talk about setting and changing variables, which we did set a variable, we didn't necessarily change it. But then also this discuss moving elements around, which is pretty important to know when you build flows. Let's switch gears into Prompt Builder. The first badge I would suggest you reviewing is the Prompt Builder Fundamentals badge. This module is 300 points for beginners, and it's very high level. It is, what is a prompt? What is a good prompt? What is a prompt template? And also discusses humans and loops. From there, you can jump into the Prompt Builder Basics badge, which is 400 points for beginners. And this is an intro to what Prompt Builder can do. And it talks about your templates, and it talks about grounding them with resources, and you review practicing and revising prompts and their templates. My favorite was the Quick Start Prompt Builder badge. It is a humble 100 points, and it's for the beginner. And this actually is all about that last section that I told you about putting on your page. How to create and test a prompt template that includes merge fields, how to associate a prompt template with the test field for generation. Everything we did in that last piece actually came from this badge. And I was really excited to share with you guys that this badge gave you access to the Einstein Generative AI Dev Org for up to 5 days, but the keynote blew that excitement away because now we all have access to the Dev Orgs for login for 45 days, every 45 days. So sorry, Prompt Builder badge, you've been outshined. All right, if you're more of a visual learner, I'd suggest checking out the Salesforce Admins Innovate with Prompt Builder video series. It's just a couple short 5-minute videos. It goes over all those Trailhead badges about Prompt Builder, but it's got some really cool little nuggets that Trailhead doesn't include about best practices and the things that it can do. Now, if you're into podcasts, I listen to the Salesforce Admins podcast, Get to Know Prompt Builder with Ravish Raina. He is a principal solutions engineer at Salesforce, and he sat down with Josh Burke and talked about all about what Prompt Builder can do. He talked about the different templates and also the Einstein layer of trust. It paired well with the Salesforce Admin Podcast, Get to Know Prompt Builder with Marissa Scalercio. She was in the pilot program for Prompt Builder, and this podcast actually was more about the application of. The other podcast was, what is it? This is the application of. Listening to her get really excited about what it can do for her and her business actually gave me some creative ideas in my head of what I can do with it in my business. And then finally, if you want to look back, this session was featured on How I Solved It with Jennifer Lee, but actually this is also streaming on Salesforce Plus, so you can go back and watch the solution again if you'd like. I think there's still some coffee for folks. The first 800 Trailblazers to provide feedback on this event and this session, you can receive a $5 Starbucks gift card if you haven't seen this slide 100 times yet already today. But appreciate your feedback on the session. I love to present, I love to bring content, so the good, the bad, the ugly, it's welcomed. And I'll take any Q&A if you have any.